Have you ever stopped to ask yourself when was the last time you truly focused on you? Not the noise, not the expectations, not the endless demands of the world, but the deepest part of you. Most people spend their lives pouring energy into everything outside of themselves, chasing approval, comparing their progress to others, trying to meet standards they never even chose. And yet, in doing so, they slowly drain their spirit, they silence their own voice, and they forget that the most powerful transformation begins the moment they turn inward. You see, your life will never change because the world suddenly becomes easier. It changes when you decide to shift your energy back to where it belongs, within yourself. Right now, you may feel pulled in 1,000 directions, like no matter what you do, it's never enough. You may feel tired, distracted, and unsure if you're even on the right path. That feeling is not weakness. It's a signal. It's life telling you that you've given too much of your focus away and it's time to take it back. Because the truth is this: you cannot control what others think. You cannot control every obstacle, but you can control where your focus goes. And focus is energy. Whatever you give your attention to grows stronger in your life. So imagine for a moment what would happen if you redirected all the energy you've been wasting on comparisons, doubts, and fears into yourself. Imagine if, instead of chasing approval, you invested that same effort into building your skills, strengthening your mind, and feeding your soul. The version of you that you dream about, the one who is confident, centered, and unstoppable, doesn't come from outside recognition. That version is born when you finally decide to stop scattering your energy everywhere else and bring it home. When you focus on yourself, you begin to notice something powerful. Your energy shifts. You stand taller. You speak with more clarity. You stop being easily shaken by criticism or rejection because you no longer depend on it. Your validation comes from the quiet, knowing that you are aligned with your own truth. And with that energy shift, your entire life begins to transform. New opportunities appear. People respond to you differently. The world starts to mirror back the power you carry within. This isn't about selfishness. This isn't about ignoring others. It's about realizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup if you are depleted, distracted, and broken inside. Then what you give to others is only a fraction of your true potential. But when you focus on filling yourself first, your growth, your peace, your purpose, you suddenly have so much more to give. The people around you benefit from a stronger, calmer, more inspired version of you. And here is the emotional reward. When you make this shift, life stops feeling like a constant battle. You stop moving through your days on autopilot, endlessly reacting. Instead, you begin to create, you begin to design, you begin to live with intention. That is why this moment matters. Because every second you continue to live distracted and unfocused is a second stolen from the life you could be living. But every second you choose to focus on yourself, to shift your energy, to reclaim your inner power, that is a second invested in transformation. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear has the power to ignite that change in you. If you're ready to stop surviving and start truly living, it begins now. With focus, with energy, with you. The reason most people never experience true transformation is not because they lack potential, but because they keep feeding the wrong thoughts, the wrong emotions, the wrong distractions. The human mind is like a garden. Whatever you water grows. If you water fear, it expands. If you water doubt, it spreads. If you water excuses, they multiply until they choke out your dreams. But if you water focus, if you water discipline, if you water belief in yourself, then everything around you begins to bloom. The quality of your life is nothing more than the quality of your focus, and your focus is the doorway to shifting your energy. Think about it. How much of your mental energy today was spent replaying the past, worrying about what others think, or doubting your own strength? And how much was spent building yourself, growing, learning, or moving closer to who you want to be? For most people, the answer is painful. They discover they've been spending nearly all of their energy in mental places that weaken them, places that keep them stuck. But here's the truth that changes everything. You get to choose where your energy flows. You get to choose which thoughts you entertain and which ones you starve. You have that power right now, no matter where you stand. Every time you choose to focus on your growth instead of comparison, you strengthen your spirit. Every time you direct your energy into action instead of hesitation, You rewire your brain to be braver. Every time you put attention into gratitude instead of complaints, you change the entire emotional climate of your life. Science proves this. Your brain literally rewires itself based on what you repeatedly focus on. Neurons that fire together wire together. This means your focus isn't just a mental choice. It's a biological force shaping who you become. And here's where transformation begins. When you realize that your energy follows your attention and your life follows your energy. If you want a stronger life, you must give your energy to strength. If you want a life filled with peace, you must give your energy to calmness, not chaos. If you want growth, you must give your energy to progress, not procrastination. This shift is not magic. It is alignment. It is the decision to stop being pulled by distractions and to start living as if your time is sacred. When you guard your focus, you reclaim your energy. And when your energy is reclaimed, you feel it. Your body holds itself differently. Your mind becomes clearer. Your emotions steadier. Suddenly, the things that used to drain you don't hold the same power. You stop bending under the weight of other people's opinions because you are too busy building your own truth. That is freedom. That is strength. That is the birth of transformation. This is why you must not let your focus be stolen by every little distraction, every wasted moment scrolling, every hour comparing, every second doubting is energy leaving your body, energy that could have built you into the person you dream of becoming. When you become conscious of this, you start to protect your attention like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your focus determines your energy. Your energy determines your actions. Your actions determine your destiny. And here's the reward for choosing this path. You stop feeling powerless. You stop living as a passenger in your own life. Instead, you rise into the driver's seat with clarity, with conviction, with purpose. Your focus becomes your shield. Your energy becomes your sword. And your transformation becomes unstoppable. This is the moment you stop leaking power and start building it. This is the moment you remember that everything you seek is waiting for you. The moment you shift your energy back where it belongs, on you. The truth is, transformation is not about waiting for the perfect moment. It is about creating the moment right now with the energy you choose to carry. Most people spend their lives waiting for permission. They wait for the right opportunity, the right timing, the right support, as if life will one day deliver them a guarantee that now is the time to act. But life doesn't work that way. Life rewards those who shift their energy in the present, who stop postponing their growth and decide to rise with what they have, where they are, right now. Every second you delay, you are training your mind to accept hesitation as your default. And hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever could. Because failure still moves you forward. Failure still teaches. Failure still grows your strength. But hesitation robs you of motion. It freezes your energy in place, keeping you trapped in the same cycle of doubt and distraction. The shift happens when you recognize that your energy is too valuable to waste on waiting. Ask yourself, how many times have you silenced your own voice because you fear what others would say? How many times have you ignored your inner fire because you were too busy chasing someone else's approval? Every one of those moments drained your energy. Every one of them chipped away at your potential. But here's the beauty. Energy is renewable the moment you decide to reclaim it. You are not bound by your past choices. You are not trapped by yesterday's patterns. The instant you direct your focus inward, the instant you say, I choose me, your energy begins to rise again. When you take that stand, your entire perception of life shifts. Suddenly setbacks don't feel like dead ends. They feel like lessons. Criticism doesn't cut as deeply. It becomes feedback you can use to grow. Challenges stop feeling like punishment and start feeling like preparation. Why? Because your energy is no longer rooted in fear or doubt. It is rooted in strength, in purpose, in self-belief. That is the kind of energy that cannot be shaken. Psychology shows us that energy is contagious. The state you hold inside yourself radiates outward and influences everyone around you. When you live in a state of scattered focus, people feel it. They mirror it back to you in the form of chaos, drama, and distraction. But when you shift your energy to clarity, to self-trust, to growth, people respond differently. They respect you more. They are drawn to your presence. Opportunities that once passed you by begin to appear, not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. That is why your inner shift matters so deeply. When you focus on yourself, you are not only transforming your inner world, you are transforming your outer world too. You are setting a new standard for how you live, how you lead, how you show up. And once you feel that power, once you taste the freedom of living aligned with your own energy, you will never want to go back to the old patterns. This is the reward waiting for you. A life where your energy is not drained by constant worry, not poisoned by comparison, not weakened by doubt. A life where your energy builds you, fuels you, and carries you toward the future you deserve. That future begins the moment you decide to stop waiting, to stop hesitating, and to start shifting your energy today. You have the power. You always have. And the moment you claim it, everything begins to change. There comes a point when you realize that the greatest battle you will ever fight is not against the world outside, but against the voices inside your own mind. Those voices that whisper you are not ready, not good enough, not capable. Those voices that keep you replaying old mistakes, reliving old wounds, and doubting every step forward. They are not truth. They are echoes of fear, planted by experiences that tried to break you, by comparisons that never belonged to you, by expectations that were never yours to carry. And the moment you shift your energy, those voices begin to lose their power. Energy is not just what fuels your body. It is what shapes your beliefs. When your energy is low, doubt feels louder. When your energy is scattered, fear feels stronger. When your energy is focused, those same doubts and fears shrink into background noise. You stop believing every thought that runs through your mind, and you start directing your mind to believe in you. That is not arrogance. That is self-respect. That is the decision to honor the fact that you are more than your fears, more than your mistakes, more than the limits others tried to place on you. Psychologists call this state self-efficacy, the belief in your ability to succeed in specific situations. It is one of the strongest predictors of transformation. And the only way to build it is by taking control of where your energy goes. Each time you choose to act, even in small ways, you feed that belief. Each time you focus on progress instead of perfection, you strengthen it. Each time you silence the critic inside and give energy to the encourager within, you wire your brain to trust yourself more deeply. This is how confidence is built, not overnight, but choice by choice, energy by energy, focus by focus. The power of this shift is that it creates momentum. Once you prove to yourself that you can move forward, you begin to see new evidence everywhere. You start to notice your strength in moments you once overlooked. You begin to carry yourself differently, speak differently, think differently, and that inner shift radiates outward until it changes not just how you see yourself, but how the world sees you. Suddenly, you are no longer asking if you are enough. You are showing up as enough. And with this comes freedom. Freedom from chasing approval. Freedom from living by comparison. Freedom from doubting your every step. Because once your energy is anchored in belief, you no longer need the outside world to validate you. You validate yourself through action, through resilience, through persistence. This is where transformation begins to feel unstoppable, because it no longer depends on the conditions outside you. It depends only on the decision inside you. Imagine what your life would look like if every day you chose to silence the voice of doubt and feed the voice of power. Imagine if every ounce of energy you once wasted on fear was now fueling your growth. You would no longer be trapped in cycles of hesitation. You would no longer be paralyzed by what might go wrong. Instead, you would be alive, fully alive, moving forward, creating, transforming. That is what happens when you shift your energy. That is what happens when you take back control of the only battle that ever truly mattered, the one within your own mind. The greatest shift happens when you finally understand that energy is not only about what you remove, but also about what you allow in. Every day you are surrounded by influences, voices, habits, environments that either feed your strength or drain it. If you continue to expose yourself to negativity, comparison, and chaos, no amount of focus will sustain you. But the moment you choose to curate your energy, to consciously decide what you allow into your mind and your heart, you begin to build a foundation for transformation that cannot be shaken. Your environment is shaping you more than you realize. The conversations you entertain, the content you consume, the people you surround yourself with, all of it either pulls you upward or drags you downward. When you shift your energy, you become intentional. You stop giving unlimited access to people who drain your spirit. You stop feeding on distractions that waste your focus. You begin to protect your energy like it is your most valuable resource, because it is. This is not about building walls, it is about creating standards. When you raise your standards for what deserves your time and energy, everything changes. You start to notice how much lighter you feel when you cut out unnecessary noise. You notice how much sharper your focus becomes when you step away from constant comparison. You notice how much stronger your spirit grows when you surround yourself with people and ideas that fuel your growth. And with each choice, your energy rises. Psychology proves that humans mirror the energy of those around them. When you are surrounded by negativity, it seeps into your thinking. When you are surrounded by inspiration, it awakens parts of you that you forgot existed. Your nervous system literally adapts to the energy of your environment. This means that by changing what you allow in, you are not only protecting your mind, you are rewiring it. You are programming yourself to operate from clarity, focus, and strength instead of fear, doubt, and distraction. This is why focusing on yourself is so vital. Because when you invest your energy into creating the right inner and outer environments, your transformation accelerates. Suddenly, you are not fighting uphill every day. Instead, you are moving with flow. You feel aligned, supported, fueled. Your growth no longer feels like a battle of willpower, but like a natural extension of who you are becoming. That is the power of shifting your energy from chaos to clarity, from disorder to alignment. And the reward for this shift is profound. You begin to live with peace in a world that thrives on noise. You begin to create progress in a culture that glorifies distraction. You begin to feel strength in situations that once made you weak. People notice. They sense something different in you. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. That is the energy of transformation, and it is magnetic. When you protect your energy, you are not only building a better life, you are building a better you, a version of yourself that is clear, unshakable, and grounded, a version that doesn't break under pressure because your strength is no longer dependent on circumstances. It is rooted in choice, the choice to decide what you will and will not allow into your mind, into your heart, into your life. That is the essence of transformation. That is how you reclaim power over the unseen forces shaping you. And once you step into that awareness, your life will never feel the same again. When you begin to focus on yourself and protect your energy, you uncover something deeper, the truth that the greatest source of strength already lives within you. Most people search outside for the missing piece, believing that happiness, confidence, and fulfillment will come from a promotion, a relationship, a possession, or recognition. But that search never ends, because external rewards cannot fill an internal void. The shift happens when you stop chasing and start cultivating, when you realize that everything you have been looking for is built from the inside out. Your energy is not just fuel, it is identity. The state you choose to live in determines how you see yourself and how you show up in the world. If you constantly live in stress and distraction, your mind begins to accept that chaos as normal. But when you redirect your focus to peace, gratitude, and growth, you begin to accept power as normal. That internal normalization is everything, because your brain is always wiring itself around repetition. The more you repeat a state, the more it becomes your default. This is why so many people feel trapped. They have rehearsed weakness so often it feels like who they are. But the moment you rehearse strength, the moment you practice focus, the moment you give energy to your growth instead of your fears, you begin to reprogram your identity. Psychology teaches us about state-dependent behavior, the idea that your thoughts, actions, and decisions are tied to the emotional state you are in. When you are tired, anxious, or overwhelmed, you think smaller, act slower, and expect less. But when you are energized, centered, and focused, you think bigger, act bolder, and expect more. This means your energy is not just shaping how you feel in the moment, it is shaping the quality of your decisions, the path of your actions, and the future you create. By choosing to shift your energy, you are choosing a higher level of living. And this is why focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is the most responsible thing you can do. Because the stronger you are within, the more impact you create without. When you cultivate inner clarity, you lead with wisdom. When you cultivate inner strength, you inspire courage. When you cultivate inner peace, you spread calmness to those around you. People feel it. They may not know why they are drawn to you, but they sense it. That is the influence of someone who is taking control of their own energy. Every time you choose yourself, you are sending a signal to your subconscious. I am worth it. I am strong enough. I am capable of transformation. And your subconscious listens. It begins to align your beliefs with your actions. It begins to create harmony between who you are and who you want to become. That alignment is the foundation of confidence. It is no longer a mask you put on when the world is watching. It becomes your natural state, the way you move through every moment of life. The reward is a freedom most people never taste. The freedom of knowing that your strength does not depend on external conditions. You don't need perfect circumstances to rise. You don't need endless approval to feel enough. You don't need guarantees to keep moving forward. You simply need to guard your focus, shift your energy, and trust the power within you. That is when life begins to transform in ways you once thought were impossible. That is when you stop surviving and begin to live fully with a power that can never be taken away. There is a moment when you stop questioning whether you are capable and begin to live as if you already are. That moment is born the instant you shift your energy from doubt to determination. Because the truth is, transformation doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It begins the second you decide that you will no longer give your power to hesitation. Readiness is not a feeling, it is a choice. And when you choose to act with the energy of someone who believes, you become that person. Most people wait for courage to arrive before they take action, but psychology shows us that courage is created by action itself. Your brain learns through experience. Every time you move despite fear, you prove to yourself that fear is not in control. Every time you take one step forward, you reinforce the belief that you can handle more than you thought. This is how momentum builds, not from waiting, but from moving. Energy shifts when you stop negotiating with fear and start practicing courage, even in the smallest moments. Think about the energy you carry when you hesitate compared to the energy you carry when you act. Hesitation feels heavy, draining, suffocating. It steals your clarity and leaves you doubting everything. But the energy of action feels alive. It fuels your body, sharpens your focus, strengthens your spirit. Action is the bridge between who you are now and who you want to become. And the longer you delay, the longer you deny yourself the growth that only action can give. Every small choice you make builds your identity. Each time you choose to follow through, even when it's uncomfortable, you are casting a vote for the future you want to create. Each time you honor your own commitment, you are telling yourself, I am reliable, I am disciplined, I am strong. And that repetition reshapes how you see yourself at the deepest level. Transformation is not a single moment of change. It is the compounding effect of countless small decisions fueled by focused energy. Your energy is the compass guiding those decisions. When you are aligned with your purpose, action feels natural. When you are distracted and scattered, even simple steps feel impossible. That is why protecting and directing your energy is the foundation. Because once you are rooted in focus, discipline flows easier. Once you are filled with clarity, resistance loses its grip. Once you are grounded in self-belief, no setback can pull you back to who you were before. And the reward for this is momentum, the unstoppable force that carries you past obstacles, past doubts, past excuses. Momentum is built when energy is invested consistently, not perfectly, but persistently. It is built when you keep moving, even when progress feels invisible. And once momentum is on your side, transformation becomes inevitable. Because nothing is stronger than a mind that has proven to itself that it can keep going. Imagine yourself fueled not by hesitation, but by decisive energy. Imagine how much of your life would change if you stopped waiting for permission and started acting from power. The world bends for people who move with conviction. Doors open for those who refuse to stop. Transformation belongs to those who direct their energy into forward motion and never surrender it to fear again. This is the moment to decide that your energy is no longer for hesitation, but for action. And once you make that decision, your life begins to shift in ways you once only dreamed possible. The energy you carry becomes the standard you set for your life. Every day, whether you realize it or not, you are teaching yourself what you will accept, what you will tolerate, and what you will rise above. When you live scattered, distracted, and unfocused, you reinforce the idea that your life is ruled by circumstance. When you live with clarity and strength, you reinforce the truth that you are the one shaping your path. Your energy is not passive, it is a declaration of who you are becoming. Think about the difference between living in reaction and living in creation. Reaction means your energy is always pulled by whatever happens around you. Someone's opinion can throw off your entire day. A single setback can steal your confidence. Distractions can derail your focus for hours, but creation is different. Creation means you decide in advance who you will be, no matter the situation. You set the tone, you hold the standard, you walk into every moment, already grounded, already centered, already aligned. That is the energy of transformation. It does not bend with the winds of circumstance. It remains steady because it is built from within. Your mind adapts to whatever you repeat. If you repeat weakness, you live weak. If you repeat doubt, you live doubtful. But if you repeat strength, if you repeat focus, if you repeat belief, your identity begins to shift. This is not about pretending to be something you are not. It is about practicing the version of yourself you are becoming until it feels natural. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself based on repetition. Every focused thought, every disciplined action, every moment of courage is literally sculpting new pathways in your brain. You are building a stronger version of yourself at the biological level. This is why energy is everything, because your energy shapes your actions shape your habits, and your habits shape your destiny. The more you invest your energy into alignment, the more automatic your transformation becomes. Eventually, it stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like who you are. That is when life feels lighter, not because it is easier, but because you have grown stronger. And this strength brings with it a new kind of freedom, the freedom to stop living small. Fear shrinks your energy. Doubt shrinks your vision. When your energy is expansive, when you are fueled by clarity and belief, you allow yourself to want more, to reach further, to step into the fullness of your potential. You stop negotiating with your dreams. You stop settling for less than you deserve. You stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. You rise unapologetically into the person you were meant to be. The reward for this shift is not only in what you achieve, but in how you feel. You feel alive in ways you never did before. You feel aligned, powerful, unshakable. You no longer need to be pushed because you are pulled by your own energy. And that is the key. Once your energy is aligned with who you want to be, the world cannot stop you. No obstacle is strong enough. No rejection is sharp enough. No doubt is heavy enough, because your life is no longer built on chance. It's built on choice, built on focus, built on the unstoppable energy you chose to create within yourself. Transformation deepens when you realize that the energy you carry not only builds your identity, but also dictates the level of life you attract. Like frequencies tuning into each other, the energy you project is mirrored back to you by the world around you. If your energy is rooted in fear, you will see obstacles everywhere. If it is rooted in doubt, opportunities will slip past you unnoticed. But if your energy is grounded in clarity, discipline, and belief, you will begin to see possibilities where others only see problems. Life responds to the energy you give it, and when you shift that energy, the entire field of your reality shifts with it. Every thought you repeat is a signal, and every signal you send is answered. This is not abstract, it is psychological. Your brain uses a filtering system called the reticular activating system. It decides what you notice and what you ignore based on what you repeatedly focus on. If your energy is locked on fear, your brain highlights every reason to stay stuck. If your energy is tuned to growth, your brain highlights every chance to rise. You are not simply reacting to life. You are training your mind to see the version of life that matches your energy. That is why focusing on yourself matters so much. Because the moment you shift your energy, you shift what your mind allows you to see. And what you see influences how you act. If you see only barriers, you shrink. If you see only limits, you stop. But if you see opportunities, you move. If you see possibility, you try. If you see growth, you keep going. That is why your energy is the root of transformation. It is not about faking positivity. It is about deliberately choosing where your attention goes, knowing that your attention shapes your perception shapes your actions, and your actions shape your future. Imagine the strength of living in a state where your energy is no longer scattered by doubts or poisoned by comparison. Imagine waking each day with focus so strong that distractions barely register. Imagine carrying yourself with such grounded conviction that rejection doesn't crush you, it redirects you. That is not fantasy, it is the reality of someone who has chosen to shift their energy inward, who has decided that no external force is stronger than their internal alignment. And here lies the breakthrough. Once you master your energy, life stops feeling random. You no longer live as if things just happen to you. You begin to see patterns, alignment, and flow. You begin to notice how the right people, the right ideas, and the right doors appear when you are living from clarity instead of chaos. The world does not suddenly hand you an easier path. What changes is you, your focus, your energy, your presence. And when you change, the world cannot help but respond. The reward for living this way is profound. You stop wasting time waiting for perfect conditions because you realize you create them through the state you carry. You stop asking if you are enough because your actions prove that you are. You stop letting fear decide your future because your energy is anchored in strength, not hesitation. This is where transformation becomes your new normal, not an occasional breakthrough, but a continuous expansion. Because once you shift your energy and focus on yourself, you step into a level of life where nothing outside of you has the power to define you again. The moment you align your focus and shift your energy, you begin to feel something most people never experience, true inner power. This is not the kind of power that comes from control over others or from external achievements. It is the power of self-mastery, the unshakable strength that comes from knowing you can trust yourself no matter what life throws your way. When you reach this state, storms no longer intimidate you, challenges no longer paralyze you, rejection no longer defines you because your energy is no longer tied to circumstances. It is rooted in who you are becoming. Every human being has this power within them, but most never claim it. They trade it away for comfort, for approval, for the illusion of security. They settle into patterns that drain them because it feels easier than stepping into their true strength. But easy is an illusion. The cost of living misaligned is far heavier than the discomfort of growth. The weight of regret is far greater than the weight of discipline, and the only way to break free is to choose where your energy will flow. Self-mastery begins with awareness. You must notice where your energy leaks. Every complaint, every excuse, every unnecessary comparison drains you. Each moment you invest in those patterns is a moment stolen from your transformation. But when you become conscious of these leaks, you gain the ability to redirect. You stop feeding the thoughts that weaken you, and you start fueling the beliefs that build you. That is how discipline is born. Not from forcing yourself through willpower alone, but from realizing that your energy is too valuable to waste on anything less than growth. Psychology calls this self-regulation, the ability to manage your internal state regardless of external pressure. It is one of the greatest predictors of success, not because life becomes easy, but because you become steady. The stronger your self-regulation, the more resilient you become. You no longer collapse under stress because your energy is anchored in clarity. You no longer spiral in doubt because your focus remains aligned with purpose. You begin to experience freedom, the kind of freedom that comes when your inner world is no longer at the mercy of the outer world. And with this freedom comes confidence. Real confidence, not the kind that depends on applause or validation, but the kind that lives in your bones. You walk differently when you know your energy is grounded. You speak differently when your words are fueled by clarity instead of fear. You act differently when you trust your ability to rise again and again, no matter the setback. That confidence is magnetic. People notice it. Opportunities flow toward it. Life bends in response to it. The reward for cultivating this power is not just achievement, but peace. You stop being torn apart by inner conflict. You stop living two lives, the one you dream of and the one you settle for. Instead, they merge into one because your daily choices align with your deepest values. This harmony fuels you in ways no external success ever could. You wake up each day knowing you are walking in your truth, powered by the energy you have chosen, protected, and cultivated. This is transformation at its core. Not a single dramatic breakthrough, but the steady rising of someone who has mastered themselves. And when you stand in that state, you realize the truth. You were never lacking power. You were only scattering it. Now that you have reclaimed it, nothing can hold you back. When you begin to recognize the energy within you as the foundation of your life, you start to see how every choice becomes a declaration of who you are becoming. Each decision is no longer small or insignificant. It is a vote for the person you want to rise into. The way you spend your time, the words you speak to yourself, the habits you repeat, all of it either feeds your power or drains it. And the truth is, transformation is never the result of one dramatic action. It is the accumulation of thousands of small moments where you chose to direct your energy with intention rather than waste it on distraction. Think about how many times you've been pulled into cycles that don't serve you, checking things that don't matter, comparing your journey to someone else's, replaying old failures in your mind. These patterns feel harmless in the moment, but they quietly steal your strength. They are the silent thieves of your potential. The reason you feel stuck is rarely because you lack opportunity, but because you've given away your energy to places that cannot grow you. When you reclaim it, even slightly, you begin to notice a shift. You feel lighter, you feel more grounded, and most importantly, you feel capable again. The psychology of focus tells us that what you repeatedly give your attention to becomes your reality. Your brain literally wires itself around the things you focus on most. If you constantly feed your attention to fear, scarcity, and doubt, your mind becomes conditioned to live in those states. But if you train your focus toward growth, gratitude, and possibility, your brain rewires itself to see opportunity where others only see obstacles. This is not just motivation, it's biology. Your focus is the architect of your future. That is why protecting your focus is protecting your destiny. You cannot afford to let your mind be a dumping ground for negativity and noise. You must become intentional with what you consume, what you listen to, and what you speak over yourself. Every piece of input is shaping your internal world, and your internal world is shaping your external life. When you finally see this clearly, you realize that every time you choose peace over chaos, presence over distraction, discipline over impulse, you are transforming at the deepest level. And something powerful happens when you practice this consistently. Your energy compounds. The small decisions you make daily, like waking up with clarity instead of chaos, like speaking encouragement to yourself instead of criticism, like choosing action instead of procrastination, start to build momentum. At first it feels subtle, but then it becomes undeniable. Your days begin to feel lighter. Your goals no longer feel distant. Your life begins to align with the vision you've held inside you for years. This is the reward of shifting your energy. It sets off a chain reaction that touches every part of your existence. But the real miracle is not just in what changes around you, it's in who you become within. You no longer chase worth from outside sources because you built it inside yourself. You no longer beg for permission because you've given it to yourself. You no longer fear falling because you know you can rise. That is the unshakable state of transformation. It is the moment you stop surviving and begin truly living, fueled by focus, carried by energy, and defined by the strength you have chosen to create. The greatest shift you will ever experience happens the moment you stop waiting for the world to give you permission to grow. Most people spend their lives waiting for the right time, waiting for more confidence, waiting until they feel ready. But readiness is a lie. Growth does not wait for perfect timing. It demands action in the midst of uncertainty. The truth is, the moment you begin, you are already more ready than you think. Every step you take forward gives you strength. Every action builds the courage you thought you were missing. Confidence is not the starting point. It is the result of showing up when fear tells you not to. Energy is not something you stumble upon. It is something you create through movement, through progress, through momentum. Think about it. How often have you felt tired, unmotivated, stuck, only to find that the simple act of starting shifted everything? Action generates energy. The body and the mind are wired to respond to forward motion. Once you begin, even in the smallest way, your brain releases the chemicals that make you feel alive again. This is why so many people remain trapped in stagnation. They wait for motivation, not realizing that motivation is born from movement. And here lies the secret: small, consistent actions carry more power than massive bursts that fade away. Psychology calls this the principle of compounding habits. When you do something repeatedly, no matter how small, it builds into a force that can reshape your entire identity. Brushing off small actions because they feel insignificant is one of the greatest mistakes you can make. Every small step plants a seed. Every seed grows roots. And over time, those roots form an unshakable foundation. This is how transformation truly happens. Not by waiting for some dramatic breakthrough, but by showing up for yourself each day with focus and consistency. Each time you follow through, you send yourself a message. I can trust me. That self-trust is the key to unstoppable growth. Because once you believe in your own reliability, you no longer need external proof. You carry certainty inside you, and that certainty drives you further than anything else ever could. There is power in understanding that your life changes the moment you take responsibility for your energy. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to hand you clarity. No one is going to force you to rise. This is your decision. This is your responsibility. And though that may feel heavy, it is also liberating. Because if the power is in your hands, then nothing outside of you has the right to control your destiny. Not circumstances, not failures, not the opinions of others, only you. The more you embrace this, the more unstoppable you become. You stop waiting. You stop delaying. You stop pretending tomorrow is guaranteed. Instead, you step forward with fire in your chest and purpose in your soul. You decide that today is the day you shift your energy. Today is the day you focus on yourself. Today is the day you begin the transformation that no one can take from you. And once you choose it fully, the universe responds, not because it suddenly becomes easier, but because you finally align your life with the truth of your own strength. The moment you commit to transformation, something profound happens inside of you. You begin to feel the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. This tension is not a sign of weakness. It is the very proof that growth is alive within you. Too many people mistake this discomfort for failure, when in truth it is the birth of a new identity. Growth is supposed to feel uncomfortable. Change is supposed to feel uncertain. If it feels too easy, it means you are still living inside the walls of your old limits. The very friction you feel is evidence that you are breaking through. Your mind will resist this process because it clings to the familiar. Even if the familiar is painful, your brain prefers it to the unknown. This is why shifting your energy requires courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward even when fear screams at you to stay still. Every time you take action despite resistance, you are rewiring your mind to see that the unknown is not danger. It is possibility. With repetition, what once felt impossible becomes natural, and what once drained you begins to fuel you. This is where the deeper transformation begins, when you stop identifying with your past and start aligning with your potential. You are not your mistakes. You are not your old habits. You are not the version of yourself that settled for less. Those were chapters, not your entire story. The more you feed your energy into the present moment, the more you prove to yourself that you are free to rewrite the script at any time. Your past cannot chain you unless you choose to keep carrying it. Release it, and your energy instantly expands. Psychology shows that identity is one of the strongest drivers of behavior. People do not stay consistent with goals. They stay consistent with who they believe they are. That is why lasting transformation comes not just from what you do, but from who you decide you are. When you say, I am disciplined, I am focused, I am capable, and then align your actions with those beliefs, your brain begins to shape itself around this identity. You become the kind of person who follows through. You become the kind of person who rises after falling. You become the kind of person who creates change rather than waiting for it. This alignment between belief and action is where power lives. You no longer waste energy battling with yourself because your choices reflect your values. Every step you take builds integrity. Integrity creates trust. Trust creates confidence. And confidence creates unstoppable momentum. This is the chain reaction that turns ordinary people into extraordinary leaders of their own lives. But it all begins with a decision to shift your energy from the person you were into the person you are becoming. It requires honesty, it requires courage, and it requires faith. Faith that even if you cannot see the final picture, every step is painting it. Faith that the energy you invest in yourself will never be wasted. Faith that transformation is not only possible, but inevitable once you choose it with everything inside you. This faith becomes the anchor you hold on to when the old version of you tries to pull you back. And with each choice, you rise higher, stronger, freer than you have ever been before. When you decide to step fully into the person you are becoming, you begin to see how much of your old life was built on autopilot. You realize how many of your choices were not choices at all, but patterns repeated without thought. You notice how often your energy was spent on things that drained you, simply because they were familiar. This awakening is powerful, but it can also feel unsettling, because once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. You cannot go back to pretending you do not know. Awareness demands action, and when you act with awareness, your life begins to shift in ways that feel almost unstoppable. This is why focus is everything. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life grows. If you scatter your attention, your life becomes scattered. If you pour it into distractions, your life reflects distraction. But if you choose to channel it into growth, discipline, and vision, your life begins to transform into a reflection of your deepest potential. This is not magic, it is cause and effect. The human brain magnifies what it repeatedly focuses on. Your energy will always multiply in the direction of your attention. Think of how powerful it becomes when you direct that energy toward your own growth. Instead of worrying about what others think, you invest that energy into becoming stronger. Instead of replaying regrets, you invest that energy into building skills, habits, and character. Instead of draining yourself by comparing your journey to someone else's, you fuel yourself by doubling down on your own progress. That shift alone changes everything because suddenly you are no longer fighting battles that don't belong to you. You are fighting only the battles that build you. The mind thrives when it has clarity. When you know where you are going and why it matters, your energy stops scattering into 1,000 directions. Neuroscience proves that the brain filters information through intention. When your intention is clear, your brain begins to notice opportunities, solutions, and paths you could not see before. What once felt like chaos now feels like alignment. This is not because the world suddenly changed, but because you finally directed your energy with precision. And this is where momentum becomes unstoppable. Every step you take in alignment builds confidence. Every act of discipline adds weight to your identity. Every moment of focus compounds into progress that cannot be denied. Even when results are not immediate, you feel different inside. You feel stronger, clearer, more in control. That internal shift is the true measure of transformation because once it takes root, the external results always follow. But you must remember, energy is either invested or wasted. There is no neutral ground. Every thought, every action, every moment is either feeding your growth or draining it. When you begin to see life this way, you stop treating time casually. You stop treating your focus carelessly. You stop treating your potential as something that can be delayed. Instead, you honor it. You protect it. You pour into it because you finally understand that nothing is more expensive than wasted energy and nothing is more powerful than energy aligned with purpose. The decision to claim that power is what separates those who drift through life from those who transform it. And when you choose it fully, you discover a truth most people never realize. You already have everything you need to create the life you desire. All of it begins with where you place your focus and how fiercely you protect the energy that follows. The more you channel your focus into growth, the more you begin to understand that energy is not just about what you do, but about the state you carry into everything you touch. You could take the same action in two different states and produce two completely different results. When your energy is scattered, heavy, and weighed down by fear, even your best effort feels like a struggle. But when your energy is elevated, clear, and aligned with purpose, your actions carry a force that multiplies. You move with flow instead of resistance. You attract solutions instead of obstacles. You radiate strength instead of doubt. The state you bring into the world shapes the way the world responds to you. This is why shifting your energy begins within. Transformation is not about rearranging everything outside of you. It is about mastering what you cultivate inside. Your thoughts are not random. They are signals that create emotional states. Your emotions are not meaningless. They are instructions that shape your behavior. And your behavior is not isolated. It is the pattern that creates your life. When you start to regulate your inner state, you begin to reclaim control over your entire existence. Science proves that emotions are contagious. The energy you carry doesn't just affect you, it spreads into every interaction, every relationship, every environment you step into. When you walk in with heaviness, the room feels it. When you walk in with strength, others feel that too. You are not just shifting your life when you focus on yourself. You are influencing everything around you. The more you elevate your state, the more you elevate the spaces you touch. This is how transformation expands beyond you. It begins as a personal choice, but becomes a force that impacts everyone connected to you. But here's the truth. You cannot fake energy. You cannot pretend to be aligned while carrying chaos inside. The outer world will always mirror the inner. That is why deep work matters. That is why you must face your own patterns, your own doubts, your own limiting beliefs. Every time you confront them instead of running, you free up more energy to create. Every time you release what no longer serves you, you gain more strength to grow. It's not weakness to admit what you need to heal. It is the ultimate act of courage. Because healing is not just about fixing the past. It's about reclaiming the energy you've been giving away to it. When you make this choice, you stop leaking energy into regret, resentment, or resistance. You stop carrying weight that was never meant to be permanent. You rise lighter, clearer, stronger. And in that state, you discover that transformation is not about becoming someone new. It is about uncovering the power that was always there, buried beneath the noise. You already have what it takes. You already carry the strength. You simply needed to clear away what dimmed it. This is the gift of shifting your energy. It strips away the illusion that you are powerless. It reminds you that the life you want does not begin out there somewhere. It begins inside you. And once you embody that truth, once you live from that elevated state, you become unstoppable. Because no matter what the world throws at you, your energy remains unshaken, your focus remains sharp, and your transformation continues to rise.